One step, one photo, 1 second of silence. That's all it took. One more angle, one more inch closer. One last smile for the camera, and then nothing. These are not freak accidents pulled from rumor or urban legend. These are the worst selfie spot deaths ever recorded, moments driven by clout, pressure, and the lie that a perfect shot is worth the risk. Taft Point, Yosemite National Park, 2018. It was October 21, 2018 at Taft Point in Yosemite National Park, California. The sun was dropping fast, washing the granite cliffs in gold. The air was clear. Visibility stretched for miles. This was one of the most photographed viewpoints in the park, a sheer drop of more than 3,000 feet with no guardrails, just rock, sky, and nothing underneath. The couple had come here for one reason: the shot. They were experienced hikers visiting near sunset to capture what influencers call the money light. Footage later recovered from a phone shows them laughing, adjusting their stance, checking framing. They wanted a wide-angle selfie, both of them, the valley behind, the illusion of standing at the edge of the world. What they didn't realize was how little friction existed between their shoes and the smooth granite beneath them. Earlier, visitors had warned them the rock was dusty. Park signage nearby cautioned against approaching the edge. None of that made it into the frame. Step by step, they moved backward, lining up the horizon. One foot shifted, then the other. The phone was raised higher. The shot widened. The edge disappeared from their peripheral vision. Footage ends mid-laughter. Investigators believe one slip destabilized both of them. There was no time to grab. No ledge, no recovery. They fell together. Hikers below later reported hearing a brief echo, then nothing. Park rangers confirmed both died from blunt force trauma after the fall. There was no evidence of foul play, intoxication, or equipment failure. Just proximity to the edge. In the aftermath, Yosemite officials renewed warnings about cliff selfies and emphasized that Taft Point had claimed lives before, and would again. Because the danger doesn't look dangerous, until it is. But the next death wasn't quiet. It unfolded in front of hundreds of thousands. Live. Vologda Oblast, Russia, 2015. It was July 2015 in Vologda Oblast, Russia. The weapon was real. The phone was recording. The audience was watching. The woman was a young influencer known online for posting provocative selfies with weapons. This wasn't her first. The motive was simple. Shock value. Engagement. One more clip to stand out in a saturated feed. The rifle belonged to a friend. Investigators later confirmed it was loaded. The live stream shows her adjusting the camera, angling for drama. She jokes. She smiles. She lifts the rifle, pointing it toward her head for effect. What she didn't realize was that the safety was disengaged, and her finger was on the trigger. In the footage, you can hear someone off camera. React. Too late. A loud crack cuts through the audio. The stream jerks violently. The video cuts out. Emergency services arrived within minutes. She was pronounced dead at the scene from a gunshot wound to the head. Authorities ruled the death accidental. The video was removed from the platform, but copies spread rapidly. The incident triggered renewed warnings from Russian officials about weapon handling and online stunts. Platforms tightened moderation around firearms, but the clip had already done what it was meant to do. It went viral, because the camera doesn't know when to stop recording, and bravado doesn't come with a rewind button. The next incident looked peaceful, until gravity got involved. Pha Taem National Park, Thailand, 2019. It was November 2019 at Pha Taem National Park in Thailand, a cliffside destination overlooking the Mekong River. Tourists come here for sunrise. The cliffs glow orange. The mist rolls off the water. The view feels endless. A young Spanish tourist arrived early, phone fully charged, chasing a solo selfie with the cliff edge framing the river below. Witnesses said she stepped beyond the marked safe zone to avoid other visitors in her shot. What she didn't realize was that the limestone edge was unstable, eroded by rain and foot traffic. CCTV from a nearby trail shows her climbing onto a protruding rock. She pauses. She adjusts her footing. She raises the phone. A small crumble is visible at her heel. Then the ledge gives way. She falls backward, out of frame. Emergency responders later confirmed she died from injuries sustained in the fall. Officials closed the section of the cliff temporarily and reinforced barriers. Park authorities emphasized that warning signs had been posted, but selfies near cliffs remained one of the most common causes of tourist deaths in the region. The photo she was trying to take was never captured, but the moment she stepped too far as the next death happened in a city surrounded by people, and no one could stop it. Mumbai coastline, 2017. It was August 2017 along the Mumbai coastline, near a popular sea-facing promenade. Monsoon season had transformed the Arabian Sea into something restless and aggressive. The sky was overcast, the wind was sharp. Waves slammed into the rocks below with rhythmic force, sending sheets of spray high into the air. Crowds gathered anyway. Phones came out. The danger was part of the spectacle. Two young men climbed onto a concrete barrier separating the walkway from the rocks below. They weren't swimmers. They weren't rescuers. They were tourists chasing a dramatic selfie, one that showed the waves exploding behind them. Close enough to feel real. Bystander videos later show them laughing. One gestures toward the water, another leans back slightly to widen the frame. What they didn't realize was how powerful the undertow had become that day. Monsoon currents don't pull outward all at once. They wait. They build. They surge. A larger wave rose higher than the rest. It cleared the rocks. It struck them mid-pose. Both men lost their footing instantly. One was swept off the barrier without a sound. The second tried to recover, reaching out. But the retreating water dragged him with it. Witnesses screamed. Phones kept recording. Emergency crews were dispatched within minutes, but the sea never slowed. Rescue boats struggled against the currents. Both bodies were recovered later, miles from where they fell. Police confirmed drowning due to rough sea conditions. No criminal charges, no equipment failure, just proximity to a known danger zone. In the weeks that followed, Mumbai authorities expanded coastal no-selfie enforcement. Red warning signs were installed along the promenade. They read simply, "Selfies can be fatal." They weren't exaggerating, because the ocean doesn't care how many likes you already have. Railway Bridge, Romania. 2015. It was May 2015 on a railway bridge in Romania, just after sunset. The teenager had climbed up for one reason, a photo that looked fearless. Standing on top of a train car, arms raised, city lights stretching behind him, an image meant to look untouchable. Friends filmed from below. Someone laughed. Someone told him to be careful. He waved them off. What he didn't realize was that danger didn't require contact. Above the train ran overhead power lines carrying tens of thousands of volts. You don't have to touch them. You only have to get close. The air itself becomes the conductor. Footage shows him straightening his posture. He lifts his arms higher for balance. His head rises just inches into the invisible field surrounding the line. There's a sudden flash, white, violent, unmistakable. A sharp crack splits the air. His body locks, then collapses instantly. The camera shakes. Someone screams. The recording keeps going. Emergency services arrived quickly, but there was nothing to be done. Officials later confirmed death by electrocution caused by electrical arcing from the overhead line. No train movement was involved. No mechanical failure. The video spread rapidly online before platforms removed it. Rail authorities issued renewed safety warnings, emphasizing a fact many people don't understand. You don't need to touch high-voltage lines to die from them, because electricity doesn't wait for mistakes. It punishes them instantly. Rattlesnake Ledge, 2018. It was April 2018 at Rattlesnake Ledge in Washington State. The weather was clear. The trail was busy. Families, couples, solo hikers, all drawn to the same reward at the top. A sweeping view of the valley below. The overlook itself was crowded with phones raised and people rotating in and out of frame. One man wanted more. Witnesses later told investigators he stepped beyond the established viewpoint, climbing onto a rock that pushed him closer to the edge. The goal was simple. A selfie with nothing between him and the drop. No railings, no margin. What he didn't realize was how uneven the surface was beneath his feet. Granite that looks solid can be slick with dust and gravel. One shift is all it takes. As he adjusted his stance, his footing slipped. There was no dramatic stumble, just a sudden loss of balance. He tried to correct. He couldn't. He fell more than 700 feet. Other hikers froze. Some ran forward, others turned away. Rescue teams were dispatched immediately, but the terrain delayed access. When crews reached the base of the cliff hours later, he was already dead. Cause of death: blunt force trauma from the fall. Local authorities later reiterated that Rattlesnake Ledge had claimed multiple lives over the years. Every investigation ended the same way. Step past the edge. Lose balance. No recovery. The view didn't change. The outcome did. Rocky Mountains, Z, 2020. It was September 2020 in the Rocky Mountains. The hiker was alone and live streaming. He checked in with followers throughout the climb, narrating the trail as he went. He joked about exposure. He brushed off concern in the chat, reassuring viewers that he had done this before, that he knew his limits. Hearts and comments streamed up the screen. Some encouraged him forward. Others told him to slow down. He kept going. What he didn't realize was how fatigued he had already become. At altitude, judgment fades quietly. Muscles weaken long before the mind admits it. In the final minutes of the stream, the change is subtle but visible. His breathing grows heavier. The pauses between sentences stretch longer. Wind noise begins to overpower his voice as the ridge narrows. The phone never leaves his hand. Footage shows him approaching a tighter section of trail, a steep drop falling away on one side. He grips a trekking pole in his other hand, shifting his weight carefully while trying to keep the camera steady for his audience. The frame wobbles. He corrects it. He steps forward. Then his foot slips. The image jolts violently. The horizon tilts sideways. The phone spins away from the trail and into open space. Within minutes, followers begin contacting authorities, reporting the abrupt loss of signal and the location he had shared earlier. Search and rescue teams launched an operation immediately, but weather and terrain slowed progress. The mountains didn't give anything back easily. Days later, his body was located far below the ridge. Officials confirmed the cause of death as injuries sustained in a fall. There was no evidence of foul play, no equipment malfunction. Just exhaustion, exposure, and one misstep. His channel was later taken down. The mountain remains. These deaths didn't happen because people wanted to die. They happened because they wanted to be seen. A better angle. A bigger reaction. A moment frozen in pixels. But cliffs don't care about framing. Weapons don't care about confidence. Electricity doesn't care about followers. No photo is worth the fall. No clip is worth the silence that follows. If you think this was disturbing, the next video goes even deeper. Moments caught live when survival depended on seconds. Watch carefully.